This is another edition of the Heel to the Face podcast. I'm Jared.
I'm Brandon.
And we're going to recap Hell in a Cell, and boy, do I got some rants, because it wasn't just the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. It was Hell in a Cell all week long. We're going to talk that and so much more as another edition of the Heel to the Face podcast starts right now.
Fans celebrate with me from Rome to Rochester.
Bad Election would be my middle name. They might as well tag me up with my buddies from Syracuse.
This is another edition of the Heel to the Face podcast. Make sure you are following us on Twitter at Heel to the Face. And make sure if you are watching us on YouTube, you hit that subscribe button so you can be notified every single week of brand new episodes, as we're coming off Hell in a Cell week. Not the event week. I mean, it's already, I like to say, a week event to begin with, but we're coming off Hell in a Cell week. So we got a few rants to go through, but I will start right there when it comes to just Hell in a Cell being in our faces a lot. I'll ask you, Brandon, what did you make of Hell in a Cell on Friday, Hell in a Cell on Sunday, and then Hell in a Cell again on Monday night?
Too much Hell in a Cell. It's just too much. It's oversaturated the WWE universe. So for me, it should have just been on Sunday only, which the pay-per-view itself, we're going to get into that a little bit, but I actually enjoyed the pay-per-view. I agree with you. I'm 100% on board. You don't need to have the Hell in a Cell every single show in the last few days. So, yes, oversaturation, no good. Sunday night's pay-per-view, I liked it.
See, my thing with Hell in a Cell, let's say, on SmackDown on Friday night, and I guess I never really understood the pay-per-view model in general. When I first started watching wrestling, boxing matches, I never really understood the pay-per-view model, especially I think because I think things like boxing, they get a lot of sponsorships on top of the pay-per-view, so they get like a mix of both being a mainstream event while also being on pay-per-view. But wrestling, it seems like you're selling wrestling to only wrestling fans on pay-per-view nights. And I guess I never, from the get-go, from starting to watch wrestling in the 90s and it being pay-per-view, I never really understood the pay-per-view model. I mean, there's a reason why the Super Bowl or any of the major sporting events in the United States or across the country or the world are not on pay-per-view. So I always kind of thought, if these people are making more money this way and not on pay-per-view, then why do things go to pay-per-view? I guess I understand from small wrestling companies because you aren't making a lot of money. NBC, SN, or ESPN are not going to pick up your Ring of Honor event.
Sure.
But I never really understood why WrestleMania, for example, why is that not on NBC?
That's a great question. That's definitely something that I've pondered myself, because why wouldn't you put it on network television? I think that would be a good move. But at this time, I don't know what WWE is thinking. I mean, back in the day, like you said.
Yeah, this isn't just a current thing. This is just in general. And the reason I bring this up is because on Friday night, we had a Hell in a Cell on SmackDown. And a part of the reason I imagine they did that was there was probably more people watching SmackDown and that Hell in a Cell match than were watching the event on Peacock and WWE Network.
Oh, for sure. I don't know the ratings. I haven't looked at the ratings, but I'm assuming because you have SmackDown on one of your main stations that you could pick up on literally your local antenna, you get at the local Best Buy or whatever. You're going to get more eyeballs. So maybe that was WWE's way of introducing, more fans to say, hey, if you want to see more of this, why don't you come check it out on Sunday on Peacock? I'll be honest with you, I'm not a fan of Peacock. The way they organize things is so whack.
Yeah,
it's so
nobody's
off.
a fan of Peacock.
Like the seasons, like episodes, it's like no, I shouldn't have to research it that far just to watch maybe one of my favorite clips. For example, 25 years ago today, Stone Cold came out with the famous King of the Ring speech where Austin 316 was born. But don't worry, you have to search through and you have to go through all these different, spots, area, everything. It's just
I like the WWE Network because you could pick the year. I could go, let's say 100%. I'm watching WCW. I was doing that. I was watching it episodically, like pay-per-view wise, trying to stay up with the story.
Of course,
pay-per-view to payper-view, Nitro to Nitro. And you could pick the year and you just go in order.
Yeah.
Here I got to be like, well, I don't remember what pay-per-view came after this pay-per-view. I'm not learning it for the first time, but I am watching some of these old WCW pay-per-views for the first time. So what comes after Halloween Havoc, or what comes after Sin or Greed or Bash at the Beach, because I'm trying to watch them in order, and you got to do some research other than just going next pay-per-view. When you watch stuff on Netflix, you go next episode.
Yeah, I was watching. I was watching some old. I was watching a little bit of old Nitro, just not the whole show, but just clips because I've really. It's the 25th anniversary not only of the Stone Cold thing I just mentioned, but NWO. The first time it was ever announced was actually by Larry Zbyszko on Nitro, where he actually came out and said the New World Order, and I think it stuck from there. So that's where New World Order NWO was actually. That's where the phrase was coined. So I don't think he gets enough credit for that, but. It's like you have to go to like season whatever, episode 26. It's like, why do I have to do that?
Yeah.
Like, put it in chronological order, like you said, based on the year. To me, I think Peacock's awful. That's just me. I just think I don't enjoy it. And the other
I think you just need some house cleaning.
Yeah, it's not like you gotta make your on-demand service more user-friendly. The way they do it is just whack. I do like the other aspects of it where you can watch some different movies that aren't WWE, oriented.
You get more for your money.
You get more for your money, for sure. And I like that. I like that aspect of it. But like, I feel like they're so damn lazy with WWE content. I think they just kind of threw it together and said, all right, go ahead. It's like, go ahead, wrestling fans, enjoy it.
While we're on the
It's
Peacock,
awful.
the one thing I don't like about Peacock, so I have the non-ad version, but you can tell if you have the ad version of where ads are placed, because if you watch an old pay-per-view, they do kind of like a fade out at certain points, and it's very unnatural. It's not like I used to watch pay-per-views or how the pay-per-views were presented. You'll be watching an event, and after the match is over, it'll fade out and then fade in, and you're like, oh, that must be for the people who pay for advertisements, where the ad is stuck in. I guess the thing is, though, they cut up the pay-per-views that way either way. So it's like watching a television show. You watch a sitcom on Netflix or Hulu, and you see where it fades out and it goes to commercial and then fades back in. Well, wrestling pay-per-views don't do that. After Jonathan Coachman's interview in The Rock at the Royal Rumble, it didn't fade out and then fade back in and be like, we're ready for this match. Or it's very unnatural where they do it, because
let me ask you this:
these pay-per-views never did that organically.
I have the full version. I don't have the ad version that you have.
I don't have the ad version. That's what I'm saying. It fades out.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
Where ads would be. That's what I'm saying. So I'm watching a pay-per-view, and then it'll fade out like it was going to commercial, but then not going to commercial. Like when you watch, I don't know, you watch The Simpsons on Netflix or Hulu or one of these things, and obviously the original form had commercials.
Yeah.
You watch it now without commercials, so it still fades out and then fades back in.
I wonder how it is where, like on Nitro or on Raw from back in the day, and even obviously currently, they'll all right, we're going to take a quick timeout. I wonder how that looks. Does that look?
I guess in those situations, it's fine because those were presented with commercials.
Okay.
So if you're fading out at commercial breaks, but at WrestleMania, when a match ends and the bell rings and there was no commercial break there, and then Jim Ross's voice just gets quieter and quieter. And then Jonathan Coachman's back.
You know why I assumed you had the ad version? I figured you were because you're tighter than two coats of paint sometimes, and I'm like, okay. I assumed that you were like, I'm not going to pay the extra $3 or $4, for the ad-free versions. I assume that, of course.
Well, I am tighter than that, and the reason I do have the ad version is because of the people and whom I share the Peacock with.
Sure,
we have an agreement about what we want. So yes, yes, I'm not cutting corners there. I'm cutting them somewhere else. Don't worry, we're cutting corners when it comes to doing anything.
I was going to say, I know how you roll.
And if I can tell you this much, if I wasn't cutting corners there, and I wasn't let's say sharing Peacock with other people, I would have a VPN and I'd have the WWE Network back.
Yeah, I mean, VPNs are clutch. I mean, you can get VPNs. You can listen to your favorite podcast, and there's a lot of them have check out this VPN and use the promo code Jericho. Like Chris Jericho had it before. I don't know if he still does, but I think I think he does, or some other podcasts do. I always mix them up because I listen to a lot of podcasts, to be honest with you. So, I mean, VPN's the way to go.
I guess the only issue, though, with having VPN is you'd have to have the network and Peacock, because if I have a VPN to my specific network at home, but then I would still want Peacock for when I'm on the road and I have my phone or I'm at someone else's house and they don't have a VPN or whatever, and I want to log in on if I'm at their house and I want to watch a pay-per-view.
You can get VPNs on your phone now, too.
True, but I think the idea is, though, so let's say if I'm at someone else's house, what's nice about the services we have nowadays is I can pop up the pay-per-view on their TV even if they don't have WWE Network or Peacock.
Yeah,
or
you can just throw it. You can throw it up. And that's what happened to me, because I like the Peacock, because there's a workaround for the Fire Stick. So I have a Fire Stick.
Same here.
So what I've been doing is I find a different way to do it, and then sometimes you have to update, and so you have to re-download it.
Yes, I had to do that the other day on Sunday.
It's a pain. And what I've done was, and I don't feel like going through the process again. I'm trying to watch the pay-per-view. It wasn't this pay-per-view. I think it was the previous pay-per-view. And I literally just put it on my phone and streamed it right to the TV. That's the beautiful thing about technology. I was like, I'm not really going to be texting anyway.
No, it is.
So
It
I'm
is
like, I'll just do
insane to
it.
think. I think about that nowadays, obviously, compared to when I was a kid.
Yeah,
and
tell
think
me
about
about
like when I wanted to watch a pay-per-view on a Sunday night, the hassle I had to go through and making sure my friend was going to get it and asking to go stay at my friend's house and see if I get a few bucks together to chip in. And it was an event. Now,
Sure. Oh, yeah.
Now I can
Big
watch
time.
paper like. Before, when you watched a pay-per-view, let's say I had tickets to a ball game at 1 o'clock or 4 o'clock, I made sure I was out of there in order to get to this specific place. I was there with a good hour to kill before the pay-per-view. It was like going to an event. Watching it on TV was going to an event. You didn't switch channels. You didn't check a score on ESPN.
Sure.
You
Yeah.
stayed on that because you paid $40 for that, and you don't have rewind or any of this stuff. Now, I go to out of town or something like that on a pay-per-view Sunday. I put it up. Oh, the pay-per-view starts in an hour. I still got an hour and a half drive home. Throw it up on the, throw it up in the car. You know what I mean, and catch up.
While you're, what? Well,
Yeah.
well,
Maybe have someone else drive
yes,
for a
I was
little
gonna
bit,
say,
then
yeah,
watch it on my
I was
phone.
gonna say someone's driving, you're in the passenger seat, you got it mounted up,
Yeah,
you're watching while you're driving.
I did that
while
for
they're driving.
WrestleMania Backlash. I watched the first hour of it while I was in the passenger seat of a car.
I remember you telling me that.
I can't, I can't think of a time if you were a kid to think that you could do that.
Remember, I mean, this is what happened when I was a kid. So back in the late '90s, early 2000s, we had a couple ways we would do it. We would, for us, we had a couple events. We had the Big Four, and we had the Super Bowl. We'd always go to my uncle's house. We'd all pitch in. It was like it was an event. Like we'd have a bunch of people over. Everybody throws a couple bucks in. We get pizza and wings, and that was it. Or if it wasn't the Big Four, I would say, "Hey, Dad, let's get it through the old black box back in the day, so to speak, and you use it."
But either
through
way,
different
it was an event. There
It
was no
was,
like, hey,
yeah.
I need to run to Walmart real quick. You're like, no, we have to have our times set
Yes.
up. So we are home at 8 o'clock on the dot for when this pay-per-view starts because
Yes.
we're paying money for it. There's no, I'm going to go check out this ball game, and then if I get home late, I'll just watch it. I'll catch up on my phone.
I mean, I'm not gonna
like
lie.
you can do now.
We paid for the core four, so to speak.
Yes.
But like, back in the day, there was the old boxes that you could, it was like the old school version of what you do today on your computer, your Fire Stick. So a lot of the events I didn't pay for back in the day, so I was very fortunate there. But nonetheless, technology has made life so much easier in that aspect, especially where, like you said, you can throw it on your favorite iPhone or whatever device you have. You have somebody drive the car and they're not a wrestling fan. You could put your headphones on and just watch it while they're driving, kill some time. It's not a bad deal.
Yes. And we're talking, obviously, going back to Hell in a Cell. One thing that kind of resembles old pay-per-views, this pay-per-view, time-wise, start-wise, are we back to the new normal, as they called it?
Yes.
It's been a while, but pay-per-views, they just snuck it up on us that it started at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
That was one of those things. I love when it started at 7 o'clock back in the day, like WrestleManias, and they would say, new start time, special start time. And then they move it to 8 o'clock, and they don't tell nobody. It's just 8 o'clock.
Yeah,
WrestleMania, it was 7 o'clock, then it became 8 o'clock. There was no announcement to remind you that it was 8 versus 7. No. Just it's now 8.
Well, that's the thing, too. And like, when I think you told me that it was 8, and I was like, here's the thing.
But it ended about 10:45, and that just like, it was literally the same length of the pay-per-views we grew up on. It was started at 8 o'clock and ended at 10:45. And I don't remember the last time that a pay-per-view did that.
I'm fine with that, but let's move it to 7. Like, so then it's done at 9:45. Like, let's be honest. Like, me being a parent of a young child, I'm in bed early. All right. So like, it took me. I finished, no joke, and we're recording on Wednesday. It took me until this morning to catch up not only on Raw but the Hell in a Cell. So it took me a little bit of time because it's how it goes.
The last time a pay-per-view started at 8 o'clock and ended between 10:30 and 11, I don't remember because it's probably pre-network maybe or close to it because that was the time. It was 8 to 10:30. That would be the pay-per-views growing up through the 90s, through the early 2000s. And then when the network came out is when they all of a sudden started pushing them past 11. 11:15, 11:30.
Well, you know why
and it
they
was
were doing that.
Well, because they have more eyeballs.
They have, number one, they have more eyeballs. Number two, they're not having
no time restraints.
Time restraints with the pay-per-view network.
Yeah.
You could do kind of whatever you want. And most people don't watch on a pay-per-view.
And it was because I went, and I think it was Backlash 2018, I want to say, that it was an 8 o'clock start that went to like 11:40.
Yeah,
it was because of continuous pay-per-views that went 3.5 hours where they decided not shortening up the pay-per-views, just pulling them forward an hour. So then it became 10 to 11 or 7 to 11. I'm sorry. Then it became 7 to 11 with WrestleManias being 7 to 2 a.m. And then all of a sudden now pay-per-views we've noticed have been getting shorter.
Which
and
is
shorter, good. And then now they seem to have settled in again on the. Now we're moving it back to 8 o'clock with the inception and the idea that they're not going to go till midnight again.
Well, here's the thing: that sweet spot for me for pay-per-views has always been 2.5, 3 hours. That's a sweet spot. I've always liked it. I think WWE just needs to do 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock start. You're out by 10. Most people are going to stay up and go till 10 because let's be honest, like a lot of people have to work the next day on these pay-per-views. So like I'm not going to be like, oh, I got to stay up and watch.
I mean, you're speaking from the East Coast perspective, but yes.
Well, yeah. Well, here's the thing: West Coast, y'all get the you get like football games on like for like what 10 o'clock on Sundays.
Would you like that? Would you like?
Yeah, I would love that because here's the thing: I watching my favorite team play Sunday night or Monday Night Football. I don't have to stay up till midnight to watch the game. I can be done, at 9 o'clock, and that's perfect. I don't care about how early.
That means you got to get up, though. I mean, you got to think about it from a perspective of some people go to church on Sundays, breakfast on Sundays.
Wait. So I'm totally joking, by the way. Wrestling's not like some people's religion. I'm just
obviously, I don't think. Wrestling doesn't start, but you were talking about NFL football.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd imagine it'd get a little annoying to have to wake up and like to watch a 1 o'clock baseball game, to watch it at 10 o'clock in the morning all the time. I got to get up
here's the thing.
early, or I don't have time to get stuff out of the way before the game starts.
See, my brother lived in Hawaii for a while, and
he's getting games like 8 a.m.
Yeah, he's literally eating brunch or like breakfast and watching. He's eating, he's having pancakes or waffles, whatever your favorite breakfast is, sitting there just eating breakfast in bed, watching the Bills game because he's a Bills fan. 1 o'clock starts. Bills games are always at 1. So here's the thing. Like, I personally, I would rather get it in and out at a decent time. I'm not trying to stay up till midnight, 11 o'clock to watch pay-per-view. I'm at that point where I'm like, I'm not staying up.
I'm cheap and you're old. We got that.
Yeah, that's 100%. If there's one thing you take away from this show today, yes, I'm the old guy and you're the cheapskate.
Yes, it's going to be weird. I am attending SummerSlam. It is official. I got seats and all.
Oh, wait. So wait a second. He breaks it on here. I don't even get to hear about this until you hear it just same time as I do.
That's going to be a 5 o'clock, and that's an 8 o'clock start for a pay-per-view. So that is an 8 o'clock. So imagine if it was a 7 o'clock start, it would be a 4 o'clock start for me. Instead, I'll still be getting in the door at 4 o'clock, but it's going to be a 5 o'clock start for me on the West Coast for SummerSlam. But keeping on with Hell in a Cell,
back to Hell in a
Fox got a Hell in a Cell match on Friday night, and the one, I guess, issue you have with putting Hell in a Cell on television is then the USA Network complains, so we get Hell in a Cell on Monday night to give them a Hell in a Cell match.
Everybody gets the Hell in a Cell match. Everybody's happy.
The issue is, obviously, I don't think it increased the ratings for the USA Network so much because they didn't advertise it with any time. It was advertised, like, during the show, so you kind of had to be... I remember they actually sent out a tweet, and it's probably specifically to do this. It was like, tell your family, tell your friends, like, Hell in a Cell on Raw, and it wasn't trying to be funny. It was probably literally to do that because that's what the USA Network wants us to do, is to get you. And it got me. It got me for SmackDown, and it got me for Raw. So you got me. I watched the Hell in a Cell matches.
I will. I know we're kind of bouncing all around with this whole. I mean, it's the Hell in a Cell weekend, so to speak. We'll just call it that. What are your takeaways from Raw? I'm gonna go to Raw really quick. I think they're writing Xavier Woods off TV for a while. That's because he took an ass whooping. So I'm thinking,
I don't know, because you got Kofi Kingston now. He's going to be facing Bobby Lashley for the championship at Money in the Bank. Potential. I don't see Kofi Mania 2 happening there.
No, I don't either. I will say this too, though.
Maybe though.
I did see some ripples aside from the Hell in a Cell portion, but on Raw, I did see a little ripples of the RK Bro thing going on. That's very interesting.
That was a decent match, I want to say. Monday Night Raw, the final 2 matches of the show.
You really enjoyed McIntyre and Riddle?
Yeah,
I loved it. I was a huge fan. I like the finish because it's not, you don't always have to put your finishing maneuver on somebody to pin them. He had a nice basic pinning maneuver, and that was it. Got the 3 and got out of the ring. I mean, that was perfect. I enjoy the back and forth of him and Randy. Like, Randy's like so serious, and you got Riddle who's just like so chill, bro. Like, he's just I love Riddle. I think Riddle is going to be a star. I mean, I know he's a star in the making, but he is going to be a multi-time champion before his days in WWE are done. How I feel about Raquel Gonzalez in NXT being a superstar, a megastar. Riddle, to me, I think he's going to be one of the faces of WWE in the next 5 years. That's my thoughts on Riddle.
Speaking of superstar, how about superstar? What do you make of Nikki Cross and her
That was interesting.
Molly Holly Blue Blazer impression.
Yeah, that was. I don't know. I don't know what WWE's going with here. Or like
At least it was her idea.
I mean, that's cool that it was her idea. I just
Thank
don't
God,
know.
because I feel bad if it wasn't.
Very true. I will say this. I hope it works for her because I do like Nikki Cross. I do like what she brings to the table. I don't think she's got enough run. I don't think she hasn't been utilized very well. And here's the thing. Not only, women's, but, I'm going to switch over to the men's side of things. There's a lot of people taking time off right now. I did see Kevin Owens is taking some time off. I mean, what is going on? I mean, are people just taking a break before the big TV run? Is that what the plan is? I
mean, that might be the plan. And I will say this much, and this is this week's rant.
Oh, here we go.
We'll end things talking about NXT and the Diamond Mine making their debut. But staying with the Hell in a Cell weekend and them going back on the road, this is pretty much what I wanted to make this week's episode about. I don't know if you caught this at Hell in a Cell, but after what I said about AEW and their bomb incident or the crash pad at AEW's Blood and Guts pay-per-view or television event, the one thing I will say about those two events, they were in front of a live crowd. So they were planned to be in front of a live crowd, whether you liked them or not. WWE is about to hit the road. And one thing they haven't done in a year and a half is perform, other than WrestleMania, in front of a live crowd.
Absolutely. Yep.
And one thing that they're going to have to get their act together real soon on is some of the crap they're pulling. With,
I think I know where you're going. Did you see the hand out of the? Is that what you're complaining about?
and this goes back. We had Dominic thrown out of the ring last week on SmackDown.
Yes.
Clearly, we didn't see where he landed. Just like when Drew McIntyre got thrown out of the Hell in a Cell, the ring, and through a table, we didn't see where he landed. And it's this kind of stuff. And I guess my thing is, we are on like the 23rd anniversary of an event that took place this month that we still talk about to this day. WWE is well aware of Mick Foley and Hell in a Cell.
Absolutely.
They are well aware of the impact and the importance and why wrestling was so popular then. And they know exactly what wrestling fans want because they keep producing content on that Hell in a Cell match, and we keep watching it because we can't get enough of Mick Foley talking Hell in a Cell 1998.
Absolutely.
So with the Hell in a Cell match being this June 2021, I understand that you're not going to go the Mick Foley route. I get that. That is a once-in-a-lifetime kind of match.
Sure.
You only have a once-in-a-lifetime kind of character like Mick Foley to do that. Okay? But again, with the idea that they're going back on the road, going back to when this all started, when they have pictures of the wrestlers stop wrestling when it went to commercial break on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown. So now the usage of these crash pads.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I'm not saying that they should be doing anything dangerous more so than they already doing. I'm saying that these pay-per-views, these Raws, these SmackDowns should just be presented in the way that you would present them if there was a live crowd there.
Yeah.
If you're not going to do it in front of a live crowd, then don't do it here. You don't have to do anything extra extraordinary to impress me because you're not going to do it when I'm there in person. So you don't have to do it here on Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like the idea of if I'm in Monday Night Raw, you don't have to make the championship match or the main event a cinematic match. You make it a regular match. So don't do it. Make it a cinematic match now. And when it comes to that bump that we all were talking about, and if you haven't seen it at Hell in a Cell, go back and watch it and put your remote on pause or slow motion. When Bobby Lashley choke slams Drew McIntyre off the ring and through a table.
Yep.
Minutes later, we don't, again, get to see the impact. Then a moment later, when they show Drew McIntyre, we see a hand under the ring pushing out debris, essentially pulling in a crash pad or a mattress or something that lessened the fall, and then putting something out to make him look like he landed.
It was a bad spot, yeah. Yeah, I got it.
And one thing is, in the history of Hell in a Cell, that's not even a big spot.
That's nothing. That's an average spot, to be honest.
Getting thrown off the ring through a table inside Hell in a Cell. I mean, come on. You can't take that bump? And again, it's fine if you can't take that bump. I can't take that bump. That's why I'm not in that ring.
Sure.
Okay? It's fine if you can't take that bump. It's fine if Drew McIntyre says, you know what, I could normally take that bump, but, I just am recovering from a surgery I'm not telling anybody about, or I'm having some sort of issues. The issue is then you don't take that bump. Then you just don't do it.
In general, yes.
Yes. So
Yep.
the thing is, if you can't do it as if there was a live crowd there, then don't do it. If you're not going to throw Dominic, Roman Reigns style, out of the ring in a way, that is safe, then don't do it. If you're doing it in a way that's extra, that he's not going to let, because again, wrestling took place for hundreds of years, or about 100 years before there was the Thunderdome. Okay.
Yeah.
It's always been in front of live crowds. So it's always been presented in a way of like, we don't have a crash pad. And there's been times where there have been crash pads in wrestling thrown off the Titantron where we can't see, or something like that, where there's a mattress. I was at the Great American Bash pay-per-view 2005. Muhammad Hassan got last road.
I knew where you're going
from
there.
The Undertaker through the stage. They didn't show it right away. Showed it a minute later, and there's Muhammad Hassan lying on the concrete.
Jared, I knew you were going there. I was thinking it, and you said it. I mean, that's why we've been doing this show for so long. We can kind of read each other's minds. That's the thing. The other thing I'm thinking of. I think you're going to agree with me on this one. Jericho. That was the other one. I mean, that was the one recently at the Blood and Guts.
Yeah, that's what I'm. But I guess and reason why I'm holding WWE higher than I would hold those, and I obviously complain about those. Don't get me wrong.
You did.
Those were in front of live crowds.
Yep.
And those were planned as if they were in front of live crowds. They weren't thinking no one's going to see this, so we can pull a fast one. They were thinking we have to make this look as if meaning 20 years from now, AEW would still pull that the same way if that was their plan. WWE, they have to put on that Hell in a Cell match as if there is a live crowd there. They can't say, hey, this is our last pay-per-view for a live crowd. Let's pull some magic tricks out of the hat. Let's do some stupid stuff.
How the hell does that happen, by the way? Like, where you were... Like, how does your camera, your production team, like in the control room, not see the camera angle where there's still a hand by the table there, like underneath the ring?
Maybe because he didn't have the hand out, and then when they put it on there, you see his hand go out. Like the production guy threw his hand out.
Here's my issue though. Like, don't these folks have earpieces where you're like, oh hey, we're going to that camera shot. You better get back underneath the ring. Like, come on, like that to me. That's amateur.
I'm just wondering because some of
these
these wrestlers, let's say some of these NXT call-ups or some of these guys, Doudrop as Piper Niven, who made her debut a couple weeks ago. Obviously, she's been in NXT UK.
So it's Doudrop, is that what they're calling?
Yeah.
What the hell is that? What is that? Like, why can't it just be what is it?
Piper Niven,
like the Viper Piper. What she goes by. I mean, you can't do Viper because of Randy, but whatever. Piper, like, why can't she go by Piper, who she's known as in the UK rounds? Like, I don't get that. Like, why and you could see her reaction, which was good, by the way. I thought she did a good job selling that with the facial expression. Like kind of like, wow, that's not my name. That was, I got to ask you really quick. Now we're talking about that. What are your thoughts on her, and what are your thoughts on Eva Marie?
I mean, it's very interesting how that's going to work. Obviously, it's going to lead to a turn on Eva Marie. We obviously see that coming already.
We already saw. I was gonna say we saw the seeds. Eva Marie
hasn't even started yet, and I could already see her turning on Eva Marie.
Well, yes, Piper went down underneath. Eva Marie was going for the tag. Piper's like, yeah, I'm good. I'm gonna back off. Like, I love that. That was good. That was like, no, you gave me a stupid name. I'm not helping you. Yeah. I don't mind it. I just think they need to utilize that young lady Piper better. That's simple as that. Like, why does she have to have a stupid name? Use the name that she has had since she's been in the business with the WWE umbrella. It makes zero sense.
I think the idea is they're trying to poke fun. I guess the idea. They don't want her to be taken seriously yet. If they want her to be taken seriously, they'd bring her out on her own. They want her to be a sidekick for Eva Marie.
She has a unique look, and I think it's and she does really well in the ring. She's a good wrestler. I've watched some of her stuff, not only just what we've seen on Raw, which is very limited. But I have gone back since the whole thing happened. Just kind of check some things out, some clips online on the network, or on the Peacock, excuse me. She's not a bad wrestler. No. I just never really followed her. And I do wish they would not, like, what is this? What are we going back to? Are we going back to, remember Santino being the goofball with the Viper or whatever it was? Like,
yeah, or Ellsworth with Carmella?
Like, come on. Like, some of these talent deserve better, is just what I'm saying.
Just to finish out, though, we're only about 3 weeks away from WWE returning to the road.
I love it. I'm excited.
They're going to be in front of live crowds starting July 16th in Houston for a SmackDown. And all I got to say is, are they going to be ready? Are these guys going to be ready? Because a lot of these guys they haven't been traveling. I mean, think about what a country club job for wrestlers this has been for the last year and a half. The job in where you travel more than you wrestle. You travel more than you wrestle.
No, you
make more money in airline miles than you do in your probable paycheck.
Well, that's the thing too. I was listening to Corey Graves' podcast, and like him and Vic Joseph, they were joking. They're like, "Man, we had like a 10-minute ride from the arena to the hotel. We just put on our music, thinking, oh, we're back on the road again, and we're already at the venue or the hotel. Yeah, it's like it's not a 3-hour.
So it's gonna be
drive.
Back on the road.
Yeah, I love it.
Not the living where you work right down the street like everyone else's job in the world. Back on the road.
Yeah,
back in front of crowds every single night. So I guess my thing is, yes, this was the last pay-per-view, thank God, in the Thunderdome, but you should be preparing yourself to wean yourself off this nonsense of, again, crash pads where we can't see. I mean, they've always existed, but we're talking cutting in the middle of the ring. We're talking throwing you through an announce table right in the dead center of the ring, but like having the camera face the other way so it can be a mattress instead of the announce table. We're talking about when you go to commercial break, you stop wrestling.
It's just lazy.
We're talking about to be honest with you, I know the Thunderdome has people tune in and put their face on it, but I don't even know to what extent all this stuff we're watching is live. I mean, I don't know how delayed any of this stuff is because there is no crowd. So essentially, if they were really good at keeping things tight-knit, SmackDown could have been filmed 3 days ago. I don't know.
Well, that's the thing too. If like I don't know. I don't know anybody that's been on on the screens, that I've seen on there. I did see one that looked like you, but I knew it wasn't you. But I'm wondering if like they have to like sign like an NDA or something like that.
No, I mean, I was on it for a second during like a pre-show thing, and for the most part, I mean,
oh, you actually did it?
But that's the thing, they flip you in and out, so you're only in it for like a second. So it would be hard for you to really know
like what the layout of the land, so to speak. I was just curious because I had no interest in doing it.
It's really not that interesting.
It's I had no interest. I just want to get back on.
And
the
we
road.
Obviously know with NXT they were just using people that they've used from other episodes. Like with the Hall of Fame, they were just putting people in. So obviously I know Raw and SmackDown are probably live, and the pay-per-views are probably live. But it's just get yourself in the rhythm to stop doing this. Like, again,
stop being
backstage
lazy.
stuff or things that you could do in the 90s, that's fine.
That's lazy.
But if you literally are doing something like you're going to go punch him in the middle of the ring and you cut, or like pull the camera away so you don't even have to do like the most basic wrestling things. Like what happened at Hell in a Cell, him going through a table in the middle of the ring in what would be plain view of everyone in attendance. You can't pull that move. Yeah, you have to phone in that move. You have to phone in the whole pay-per-view. You have to are we pre-taping the entrances? Are the wrestlers like doing their entrance early in the afternoon and then we don't even know that they're already in the ring? Yeah. Like if a wrestler has a wardrobe malfunction, have they been pausing and then going back and redoing their wardrobe? We don't even know.
Yeah,
so get yourself ready to like do a dress rehearsal of what would it be like to do a live show, no cuts, because that's what makes wrestling great. Everyone always talks, it's like Broadway or movies, but no cuts. Except for the last year and a half, I think there's been a lot of cuts.
Oh, 100% there has been. I'm just gonna say this, and I'm just excited. I didn't think it would take as long as it has, but we are getting on the road, and guess what that means? And I say it every so often. We're going to Rochester soon. Let's do it.
WWE is going on the road, but one place that has been in front of fans for a little bit of time now and is the best show for sure in the WWE.
100%.
NXT. Great show again this week as we're building up to the Great American Bash. Karrion Kross kind of getting a little thing going with Samoa Joe. Little talk about Karrion Kross. He was seen this past week at main event taping. Scarlett Bordeaux. She was in a dark match before SmackDown taping as well. Rumors are that they're going to split these guys up before they come to the main roster.
Whoa, okay. We gotta stop there just for a second. Why the hell would you do that? They're a package. Like you got to keep them together. If WWE splits them up, that is the stupidest thing you can do to both their careers. They're made for each other. I mean, literally, they're together in real life.
Yes,
but they're one package, so to speak. Like one will not function to their best ability without the other. That's just simple.
Have we not learned WWE loves to take things from NXT and then screw them up? Frankly, I don't want to see Karrion Kross on main event of all the things. That's like the most childish syndicated of the wrestling shows.
And I don't want to see Karrion Kross without Scarlett. That, like the whole entrance, just their whole thing. Backstage interviews. Anything. Anytime he's cutting a promo, she's there. She's right by his side. And I've listened to his recent interviews on other podcasts. Like, he literally said, like, she doesn't get enough credit for what she has done for his career. That's how important he feels. Obviously on a personal level, but professionally, you can't split them up. If I'm Karrion Kross and Scarlett, aren't you pounding on the table and saying, we don't split us up. We're better as a unit.
Well, a new unit in NXT finally made its debut. I don't really like how they made their debut because of the fact that they advertised they were making their debut all night, and then we got to the main event, and they hadn't made their debut, so it gave away that they were going to get involved in the main event somehow. See, if they would have just said they're coming, and then they would have come, that would have been different, but they literally said they're making their debut tonight, and then we're 5 minutes after the show is actually supposed to have gone off the air. It's like 10:01, and they hadn't made their debut yet, so you're like, what are they going to do to get involved in this match? Either that or not debut. But they did debut. The Diamond Mine made its debut, the new faction. And no, it doesn't have Tessa Blanchard. It has Roderick Strong at the helm with Tyler Rust, Malcolm Bivens, and a wrestler that joined them that was unnamed. See, they came in and attacked Kushida.
So wait, can we hold on? I got to stop you there. Just makes you think of baseball. Wrestler to be named later? Is that like?
Yes.
I'm just, like, how did that poor guy? Like,
it was a great main event. It was Kushida and Kyle O'Reilly. And that's when Adam Cole came out, got involved with Kyle O'Reilly. We're going to see that matchup again at the Great American Bash, Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly. And while that was happening, Kushida was in the ring getting attacked by the Diamond Mine, Roderick Strong. So he's leading this faction. So it looks like everybody in Undisputed Era, we're not going to see anybody getting called up anytime soon. As Kyle O'Reilly's busy, Adam Cole is busy, Roderick Strong's got a new faction.
What's going on with Bobby Fish? I haven't really been paying attention to Bobby. I haven't seen much of him.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen much of him either. So he's the only one who's not really been busy when it comes to the Undisputed Era. But do you like Roderick Strong leading his own team?
Not really. I'm not a huge fan of this. I'm a fan of his. I do like Tyler Russ. I've seen a little bit of work of his. And then Bivens, I've seen a little bit of what he was doing with Indu Share a while back. So, like, I don't mind the names, but, like, why is Roderick Strong leading this? Like, you've been making him pretty much a mid-card or a tag team specialist for so long. What's with the change all of a sudden? Like, I hope it works because I think Roderick Strong is one of the best technical wrestlers around. He doesn't get enough credit for how good he is in the ring. So I hope it works. I'm just not a fan of it yet, but it doesn't mean I won't be a fan of it later. For example, you know this. We've been doing the show for the last, 4 years now? 4.5 years? And I wasn't a big fan of New Day. And you knew that. And you knew that. I talked a little smack about New Day for the longest time. And they grew on me. They grew onto me. I like New Day. I've liked what they've done. So maybe it won't take me as long because who knows, this faction might not last long. Who knows at this point? But I'm hoping that it works out. And I hope they do well because we need some more quality factions in the business because there's not really in WWE specifically. We need some factions that are legit because once we lost the Undisputed Era, what do we really have left?
So we won't be doing an episode next week. We'll be returning around July 7th, July 8th. So this is our final episode for June, but we do have some matches for the Great American Bash that we can talk about real quick before we sign off for this week and get your opinion. Kyle O'Reilly, Adam Cole. Are you excited for this match?
Yeah, I'm in. Sign me up.
Do you see MSK losing their championships against Tommaso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher?
I do not.
And the other match that's already been confirmed, the tag team match for the NXT women's titles, The Way, Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell versus Io Shirai and Zoe Stark, or Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart, or Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. I guess we got some sort of number one contendership match next week on NXT that will decide who faces The Way.
I mean, you know where I'm going. I would obviously, if this pans out, I would go Kai and Gonzalez because it's just Raquel Gonzalez is just killing things. She's killing the business, so she's crushing it. So I would love to see that.
Do you see Karrion Kross defending the championship against Samoa Joe or someone else heading into that pay-per-view or television?
Yeah,
event?
he's gonna defend it with somebody. I don't know who at this point because I'm still trying to figure out the whole Samoa Joe thing at this point. So we just gotta wait and see. I'm excited regardless because Karrion Kross, no matter who he's in the ring with, it's going to be fun.
I hope it's Samoa Joe, but either way,
I agree.
When we come back, we will talk all about the Great American Bash and probably a bunch of other stuff happening in the world of wrestling as we're coming on to Money in the Bank in July, which will be in front of the WWE Universe for the first time in a year and a half or so. But for this edition of the show, he's Brandon, I'm Jared. This has been another edition of the Heel of Face podcast, and we will see you next time.